Hey, this is it's Mental Podcast. After summer break, I'm finally back. This summer in August, I went to Edinburgh Festival to perform my solo show. And in Edinburgh, it's such a big party with artists from all over the world. So I made lots of new friends, and one of them is Anne. She is Asian comedian based in New York, and she also has a really nice one-woman show talking about her family situation. And I also got to know that she has a bipolar disorder. I was really surprised because I never know any Asian people got diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I think we just don't get the diagnosis. And I'm very happy to chat with her and to get to know her journey. And Anne, I will hand over to you. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi, I'm Chun. I'm a New York-based comedian, born and raised in Thailand, and I brought my solo show, like Moni, I brought my solo show to Edinburgh Fringe this year and got to do some of Moni's show. Like one of them is called Anxiety versus Depression, which was super fun. Yeah, and that's how Moni found out I'm bipolar.
Cool. And I really would like to know, as I said, I never know any Asian people have a bipolar disorder. So I wonder, how did you know it? Because if people around you is in our culture is not so common to get diagnosed, what triggered you to realize something might be wrong and to get the diagnosis?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And I feel like if I hadn't lived in America, I would probably not get diagnosed. But the how I found out was, first of all, I've been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder since I was a teenager. So I kind of have like some exposure with like working with mental health professionals and talking about mental health. Then last year, I had I froze my eggs. So I had to inject it myself with a lot of hormones that made me extremely emotional. I would be sad for no reason. One time I was, waiting for the train after I had my appointment, and I thought about jumping in front of it. just just like feeling like I just want to disappear. And that's when I really thought, I think there's something wrong. It's not just depression. It's, I would have these highs throughout my life. I remember the year 2019. I, would sleep at most 4 hours a night, wake up at 5:30, go on a jog, then go to work, then go do comedy, come back at midnight, and then do it all over again. And I was, spending money kind of recklessly, like hang out with, people that I probably shouldn't have hung out with, being very loose. So I, just I performed that reflection. And then I went to my therapist and I asked her, hey, I think I might be bipolar. Just based, I was Googling like the symptoms, and I've heard a few people who have it, including Asians. There are other Asians who have it. So I'm not too unfamiliar with the disorder. And then my therapist was like, yeah, you probably do. And I was like, bitch, you knew all this time. But no, she's great. She's just not, legally allowed to diagnose me because she's not a psychiatrist. She's a therapist. She's like a social worker. So I had to find a psychiatrist who would diagnose me, which was a whole thing because in America, it's like you need a doctor who will accept your insurance. And most of the doctors, psychiatrists I've talked to, they either didn't accept my insurance or they don't work with bipolar people, even though on the website says it does. It's very shady. But I finally found someone who would work with me. She's a Chinese American psychiatrist, and She's like, yeah, it sounds like you have bipolar type 2, which is the one where you don't have like a full-blown manic phase. But you have bouts of like, just working nonstop, thinking that you're like the best, the greatest, even though I feel like I've never had that, but I've had this phase where I was like, I can do whatever I can achieve, this level of success as long as I like work super, super hard. And because we all have that inner potential. That was the extent of my manic confidence. But yeah, bipolar type 2, it's like more on the side of depression and um, you know, feeling like you don't have control of your emotions. So that was how I got diagnosed, and it got sparked and triggered by when I froze my eggs because it was an existential question. I was like, why am I thinking about potentially giving life, but also ending my own? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
And then what's the diagnosis process with your psychiatrist? What did you do together in order to come to the conclusion that you have bipolar 2?
It was pretty simple. I told her what my symptoms were, just like, hey, so I'm going through this right now. I have some suicidal ideation, but also I would feel sad for no reason. And in the past, I would have like year or months of me just not sleeping a lot and, spending a lot of money and sleeping around a lot, just, you know, having just nonstop thoughts.
Okay.
And then she was like, yeah, sounds like you might have type 2. Let's like get you on this medication, just starting very low and see how you react to it. And it really helped. It has really helped me.
For me, I wonder if like my psychiatrist tried to diagnose me with bipolar 2, I think twice already. And both of the time I said, I don't think I have bipolar. So on one hand, I feel like I'm not sure if I actually have bipolar or it's just they over diagnose a lot. Because for me, like I do have like I feel depressed often without any reason, most of the time without any trigger. But when I'm not depressed, I'm highly functioning. Like I can put tons of shows on and work non-stoply and like really have myself together. But every like a few months or a few weeks, I would just feel like paralyzed. I cannot walk, and I was just lying on my sofa for a week. But I don't know if it's bipolar or it's just I'm a normal person, but get depressed often.
Yeah.
So I don't know if like when I feel functioning, that's a normal state or it's like a hyper state. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm not a mental health professional, so don't take my advice as like, oh, yes, I have this or don't have that. But where I draw the line was, okay, when I'm in that mode where I'm like very productive, do I feel like I can't stop myself from working? Like, because if I feel like I can't stop myself from working, then I don't really have control over, how my mind works, or how my body functions. So I think that's the main question that maybe you could ask yourself and explore. And I think that when you told me like, oh, you're doing all these things and all of a sudden you feel very overwhelmed, like I think that for me, that was one of the signs that I have bipolar. And you can have both depression and bipolar. You can have all three: anxiety, depression, bipolar. You have the trifecta. So it doesn't have to be one or the other. And for me, it wasn't. I think getting the correct diagnosis is really important, but also I needed help, and I knew I need to get on the right medication. And once I got started on my current medication, I felt more in control of, my day to day. I know when to take a break, like, coming back from Edinburgh, I'm like, I need to take a couple months off, maybe for the rest of the year. Whereas I think, pre-medication, pre-diagnosis, and I was like, would just keep on going until she crashes and won't get out of bed for like a few days.
And after you got the diagnosis, have you tried to educate yourself more about the bipolar 2? Have you read books or learned more about this disorder?
Not too much. I will say this, one of the first things I did when I found out that I'm bipolar was I Googled which famous people are bipolar.
Which famous people are bipolar?
Oh, Kanye West, Mariah Carey, all these creative geniuses, I was like, Taylor Tomlinson, who I mentioned to you. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be just as successful as these people. It's a prerequisite, if you want to be this comedic or artistic musical genius, you gotta have a mental health disorder. Yeah.
So does that like knowing like Kanye West, he's also bipolar. Does it make you feel a little bit artistic superior?
Yeah, I feel bad. I was like, dude, like Kanye is like one of the, most revered rappers of our time, of all time, and I'm gonna be the GOAT of comedy. No, I'm totally messing around, but that's I haven't done as much research. Maybe here and there, like I read about, because bipolar, I think my emotions or lack of control have affected my relationships quite a bit. Like take my like personal romantic relationship, for example. It has affected it quite a bit. So I was reading about like how to be in a relationship when you're bipolar, or sent my partner some articles about like what you should know about being with someone, living with someone who's bipolar. I think he's probably read like 10% of it, but it's a start. Yeah. Yeah. Have you been researching more about bipolar?
Not yet. I think I should start. I think with the whole mental health topic, it's like once I get into it, I realize I have so many issues. When I start to get a therapist, I thought I'm just depressed, and then over time I realized I have binge eating disorder, and I realized I have ADHD, and now I'm start to thinking maybe bipolar is also one of in the mix. I'm like, oh my god, like my mental health is really like a mess.
Yeah, that's a lot. And I think processing all that in itself can like cause more stress. I also think that what you talk about, like binge eating, well, it has domino effect, right? It depends on what your coping mechanisms are. So say, when I get really depressed, I tend to do X, Y, and Z, like or like smoke or like do drugs, so that's like you might have like an addictive personality disorder too. It's just like, in the end of the day, sometimes I think like it's just personality. But and I think sometimes when we put labels on like, oh, like like bipolar not good, ADHD not healthy, it can make you feel worse.
But to be honest, I don't feel like ADHD is a mental illness for me. I read a lot about it. I think there's not really like a concrete like a scientific agreement here. I think lots of science actually believe that ADHD is not a disorder, but it's just human beings have different types, and especially like if you think about in hunter-gathering society, you need some of them who can like hyper focus. So in some books they call this called hunters type. They call ADHD people are the hunter type who can hyper focus at the point, but they cannot sit still in front of a table. It's just we have different personalities. Also like dogs, like some dogs are just they are bred for hunting and they are just very good at this. But if you raise those dogs as pets, indoor pets in small New York apartments, maybe you think they are problematic and you need to drag them and to make them calm. But the dog itself is perfectly good if you raise them on a farm or in outside. So for me, I don't think ADHD is a mental illness. And after I educate myself and I learn how to manage myself and learn how to small things like how to take notes and how to plan my day. And since I discovered I have ADHD and I start to learn the small techniques, my life, the quality of my life really increased so much. I never thought myself that I can work as an artist, like without a job, but I still can put myself together. I never believed it, but now I have my shit together. I don't have a supervisor. I don't have anyone plan for me. I don't have a 9 to 5, but I can get my shit done and have a structured life. I think that's really a blessing. I think with mental health, lots of things is just about learning about yourself and learning about the your mental state and how to work with it. And for you talking about the right medication. So may I ask which type of medication are you on now?
Yeah, I'm on lamotrigine. Yeah, which is I think also used for people with seizures. And but yeah, it's used to treat some like bipolar and I think depression. And I think to some extent, like I think people with schizophrenia also take it. Yeah.
And for you, is it your first time to take medication for mental illness?
No, I used to take Prozac for anxiety since middle school, actually. I had like trouble. I had like pretty bad insomnia. And the funny thing was my mom would take Prozac from me. And like I was like, why are there only 2 pills left?
She steals your
Yeah,
pills.
she stole my drugs, and she really didn't like the idea of seeing a therapist, but she was okay taking me to the doctor, but she wasn't okay to getting treated herself. So one of my funniest memories is she asked me to go see a doctor because we're almost out of Prozac, and she wanted more of it. Like, that's illegal, mom. But no, yeah, like you said, like, I think in Asian culture, especially our parents' generation, it's very like taboo. Pretty sure she has a few things. So, but to each their own. Like sometimes a diagnosis might not necessarily be good for someone to handle or hear.
And with the current medication you use, is it your first medication you tried for bipolar and it worked?
Yeah, and I've been very grateful that I haven't had any bad reactions and I'm reacting to it well. Yeah, there's been a few side effects where like I get thirsty more, my mouth gets more dry, and I do, I am keeping tabs on like the long-term side effects because some of these have long-term side effects. Yeah.
And for you, what kind of long-term side effect you have?
I think my doctor told me that this drug is sometimes people have involuntary muscle movements, especially like in their face or mouth area where they might like, I don't know, click their mouth more. Yeah. So that's something I have to be conscious about. I'm also not on a high dosage. I'm on a pretty low dosage, so that makes you feel a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Can I
And
ask you what's sorry, just ask going back a little bit. Because you were saying like you're worried that you might get overdiagnosed because you already have this and that. And I hear that, but also with bipolar, what are you worried about if like say, doctors like you have bipolar and then what are you worried about?
I'm not worried about I have bipolar. I think if I do have a bipolar, I'm happy to get treatment or whatever. But I just feel like the whole diagnose system with psychiatrists is so it feels like it's not professional. Like they talked
Mm,
with me like less than 30 minutes. Just I told him like yeah, we talked before about my depression. Then one time I went back, I'm like, oh, I feel really good for quite a while, but now I'm depressed again. I'm like, before I got depressed, I had a really good time. I was functioning, and my job was really great. I achieved lots of things. I feel so good, and now I'm depressed. Then he immediately said, "Do you maybe you have a bipolar?" And I feel it's like um how to describe this mm, I feel sometimes I feel this kind of decision he made to diagnose me bipolar is easier than I go to a clothing store to pick a dress. So I'm
hmm.
like, you don't know me, you don't have enough information. I just talk so superficially about this issue.
Yeah,
You already want to diagnose me, and I feel
yeah.
like diagnose someone with bipolar is like you need to do more tests or talk with me more or observe more. I just feel this is such an easy decision for him to do it, and I feel um, I feel weird about it.
Would it help if you get a second opinion or third even?
Yes, I think so. And actually I talked with another comedian about he got diagnosed with autism, and
Mm-hmm.
he told me he think in the long term like ADHD and autism, this type of neurodiversity diagnose should be more focused on self-diagnose, um because you are I think with bipolar it's totally the opposite of autism and ADHD. At least in Germany, it's very hard to get the ADHD and the autism diagnosed. It will cost you like 2 3 years waiting in line and to get the diagnosis. But actually, the diagnosis is quite simple. They don't have a biologic testing. So it's basically there's a full length of a questionnaire and you need to ask, and they will also um, check your records you had in school to see what your teachers say about you, and eventually they will get a result and they say, okay, you actually on the spectrum, or you probably have ADHD. um, but in reality, this diagnosis is very hard to get, and it's like will cost you like years waiting in line, because you need to talk with the doctor for like a whole day or even 2 3 days, and
Mm-hmm.
to get it. But on one hand, it costs so much time to wait, but on the other hand, all those things, the like questionnaire they need to do, you can do it at home. And
Mm-hmm.
also the records from teachers or whatever, you already have it. And if you read a book and you really go through the questionnaire or the description about the ADHD, it's you know you the best, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very easy to know if you are on the spectrum. Um, so I feel for ADHD and autism, I don't think it makes sense like to have it only a psychiatrist can diagnose you, and also it's a spectrum. So some people may not be so severe, but they are on the spectrum, and especially for those people who's on the lighter spectrum, they don't even need medication to help them. For example, me with ADHD, I'm very, very sure I have ADHD. And I just by knowing I have ADHD and to read the books and to learn all the techniques, how to manage myself, already significantly increase my my quality of life. So I think for mental disorders, or let's say neurodiversity, diagnosed like ADHD and autism, I think it should be more moved to the self-diagnosed part. And also with bipolar, I think instead of I talk with doctor with 30 minutes, they say you have bipolar. I think make more sense like to help people to get educated. If the doctor say, oh, you might have bipolar, I prescribe you these 2 books, and you go home to read it. And I give you a list of questionnaire, and you read these two books, and you do the questionnaire, and we talk again. And if the questionnaire and you both believe that you have bipolar, then probably you have bipolar. But I just don't feel safe to just talk with someone for 30 minutes and then they say you have bipolar. I don't think it's legit, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally hear you. It's so funny. You're like, yeah, you spend more time picking a dress at H&M than that doctor was like, yeah, you're bipolar. Yeah, you are schizophrenic. That's a huge claim to make in 30 minutes. I think what helped me was when my therapist of 2 years, she said, yeah, you probably bipolar. Because, I've been talking for 2 years. So she knows, So I think that gave me reassurance, because my combo with the psychiatrist was very fast as well.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, you might have bipolar. Maybe let's try get you on these meds and see how you feel. Yeah, it was very short.
Yeah, I think if your like therapist knows you for 2 years and she thinks probably the most likely. With my situation, I would have felt more comfortable if I talk with psychiatrist. He says, okay, you go home, read these 2 books.
Yeah.
And in 2 months, we talk again. And have a little bit more discussion, have a little bit Q&A. And if you believe you have bipolar, and I will talk to you again and ask you more questions and make a judgment by then.
Yeah. I might have a little bit of ADHD too, because remember you were like, you have ADHD when we were in Edinburgh.
Really? I said so? Why I said so?
Because I got like the date or time wrong for one of the shows and I think like sometimes I feel like I'm always like scatterbrained, so would love send me the recommendation, because I'd love to read more.
Yeah, I will send you a few books. I know a few audiobook. I really like audiobook. It really get audiobook helped me with getting myself my life in track, because I like to listen to audiobook, and when I listen, because I'm Asian, so I like to be efficient. So I don't like sit there reading books, and I cannot stand still, and I feel I'm wasting my time, and I get distracted very often. And so I like to listen to audiobook. Then I can do housework, and I would binge like 2 audiobook per day and deep clean the house.
Wow. Yeah, that's me too. But I listen to podcasts. So I just moved to a new apartment, and I was talking about this with my TV writing class people. It would take me sometimes it would take me so the speed of how fast I can unpack my stuff is directly correlated to how fast I can pick which podcast I'm going to listen to. Because sometimes it would take me like 45 minutes to pick a podcast to listen to until I do, I can't start unpacking. So I'm like that.
Have you tried audiobooks?
A little bit, but I sometimes, when I'm listening to audio, I feel like, oh, I missed that part. I gotta go back, So I take audiobooks more seriously than podcasts because I feel podcasts are more like conversational, right? So I'm like, it's okay if I don't pay attention to every line. Yeah.
Yeah, I really prefer audiobooks because I think audiobooks like the content itself is more like a test out product, like they put more effort to write it, and there's more like a solid research and facts in it. I also have the same issue, like I feel, oh, I missed something, but my solution is that for good podcasts, I will listen them more than once. I have a few to go, like audiobook. Like I listen them like 3-4 times already, so I don't mind like I miss some details once or twice. I think I think like the fact that I have to listen to audiobook when I do housework is also a symptom of ADHD, because for people with ADHD, when we are under stimulated, we get bored, then we cannot focus. Like for me, when I read a book, I feel for me it's under stimulation, and I get bored and get distracted, and I do everything else. But with audiobook, because I'm doing 2 things in one go, so I feel okay, I'm achieving my potential, and I'm happy with that way.
Yeah, that's like me too.
And I think I remember why I said you might have ADHD, because I think we made 2 appointments, and both time you miss up with the time and the date, and
well, okay, so the first one, I missed that because we didn't say which Friday or something like that. You said next Friday, but next Friday could mean like, depending on where you are in the week, it could be like the closest Friday or the Friday after that. So I think that wasn't necessarily ADHD. I can still have ADHD, but I don't think that was because of ADHD. But the second time was because of ADHD. But I like totally messed up the time, which has happened before, where I would go somewhere really early because I like misremember the time. Yeah.
It's okay. Like I used to, I'm so bad with date and time. Like all the appointments I make, like most of the time, like just skip them, totally forget it, until I learned like a technique called bullet journal. I don't know if you know it. I think it's quite popular now. And since I learned that technique, I just feel, oh my God, I'm so much in control of my life.
I think I over bullet journaled my life. I actually just like stopped having doing to-do lists, because I think like bullet journal is similar to to-do lists in some ways. But yeah, after Edinburgh, I was like, I need to take a pause on to-do lists, because I felt like my life was becoming just a series of to-do lists. And once I wipe everything out, here comes 10 more. I'm like, I felt I was drowning. So now I just trust myself. And yes, I'll put important stuff on my calendar, but other stuff, I was like literally putting everything down my to-do list. Like, brush Roku's hair. Like it was just like so minute that I felt like I also got very disconnected from my intuition. And when you wake up, you kind of also have to listen to your body, like how are you feeling today, what can you do today that would serve you best, not like looking at the list and be like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then totally ignoring your state of body and mind.
I think that's very important. Like a few days ago, I had a similar. I just feel overwhelmed, woke up like I really don't want to do anything, and I think it's important to listen to yourself. But in the past, what I do is I just ignore the daily plan, and then, but on the other hand, when that happens, I will be over anxious. Like even I'm resting, I feel anxious because I'm afraid I miss something really important. So what
Yeah.
I'm doing now is like sometimes I wake up, feel today is not the day I need to rest. I will go through the to-do list, like a bullet journal. They have a very good like symbol, like the system to indicate how to move things around. So I would, if that day I feel okay, I need to rest, I just wake up, I go through the to-do list, and I move all the important things away, and go through it, and to see, okay, there's something I absolutely have to do today, and I just do that. And then in that way I can manage my anxiety level, so I don't feel, okay, a house is on fire, I'm resting. So I think it's a little bit in between.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, you said that like you have a like work with mental health professionals since as a teenager. And I listened to your podcast. I heard that you only moved to the States when you were in college or in high school.
College. Yeah, I moved to the States for college and stayed. Yeah.
And how did you, if you start to work with mental health professionals when you were a teenager already? So was it in Thailand or was it
Yeah,
in the States?
it was in Thailand. Yeah.
And as far as I know, like in Asian countries, like mental health is quite a taboo. And in your situation, how did you or your family start to get you treatment as a teenager? What's the trigger and make them to make the decision first? Because as in China, families would treat the teenagers or the only if like they are suicidal, if they are not functioning at all. It's like really in the last resort it happened.
Yeah.
So I wonder, like in your situation, what happened to make you or your family make the decision?
Yeah. So I had a lot of issues like just falling asleep and staying asleep since I was even before I was a teenager, but I think got really bad in my teenage years, and I was always really stressed, and um I think the lack of sleep, if I have trouble falling asleep the night before, I would worry. Like I would not sleep for a week and I would feel I was gonna die or that I wanted to die. So that was what sparked it. And um, in when I was younger, like elementary school, I think I was like depressed too. Like I think I wrote something that was kind of suicidal. So my teacher like told my parents about it. So I think they always knew that like I probably need some help. But yeah, the main trigger was the insomnia in middle school, and feeling really crappy about it. And I also asked my parents if they could take me to see a psychiatrist. I consume American movies and TV, so I knew what psychiatrists do. So there was like one person in my town, and I don't think he was that good, but yeah, he gave me some medication. He also gave my dad some medication too, and he probably has worse anxiety than I do too. But my mom didn't want to get treated because she also has really bad insomnia. Yeah. Now
So
she just asked me to bring weed, which is very risky.
from States to Thailand, in Thailand, the punishment is really severe, right?
Yeah, very. That's why I haven't done it.
Yeah, I think your mom is really she's quite like she's like a teenager, like
Yeah.
stealing drugs and asking you
Yeah.
to buy her drugs.
She's a character. She's very funny.
Yeah, in your solo show also you talk a lot about her. Like she sounds like an interesting lady.
Yeah, she's very different. Yeah.
But if you cannot smuggle weed for her, maybe she can visit you in New York and take all the weed she wants.
Yeah, I think it just got legalized in Thailand. So,
Really?
yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's really progressive.
Yeah.
Wow,
I
that's
know.
amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it is 2022, but yes, it is surprising for like an Asian country to legalize weed.
Yeah,
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 it's illegal in China, right?
yeah. It's like
Yeah.
you can get like 10 years, 20 years in prison for weed.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
not going.
Nope.
I don't think it will ever happen legalization there. Also, because our history was drug, how the British people
Opium. Yeah.
took over the country with drugs. So
Yeah.
our history really told us drugs are very very bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you talk about you had severe anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
as a teenager and also as a adult. Like, how did you deal with your anxiety?
I do comedy and then get more anxious about my ticket sales. Yeah. Yeah, to an extent, like writing jokes, just writing in general, journaling, keeping up with my routine. I think that's super important. Like waking up, meditating for 10 minutes, doing yoga or some sort of physical movement for at least 15 minutes. Um, Having a dog has helped a lot as well because when I get stressed and like I'm like so busy, when he has to pee, he has to go, right? So it will put a pause on my, whatever I'm going through and like bring me back to the present. Um, Talking to people like you, talking to my friends, I think it's always feeling connected. I think that's a key. When you feel anxious, you can easily spiral. And then that's when you feel like you're alone and, you're disconnected from everything. So the important part is to get out of it, you got to do something that makes you feel connected to either yourself, your body, or a community, um, whatnot. So, and listening to really old songs when, like, I don't know why listening to old songs or watching old movies from when I was a teenager just cheers me up or kind of makes me feel like, oh yeah. I don't know, it makes me feel nostalgic and like at home. Yeah.
Mhm.
How about you? What do you do?
I don't know. For me, anxiety is less. I I I think for me it's a little bit harder with anxiety because when depression hits me, I immediately feel it and immediately I know, okay, I need to take a break. I need to do this and do that. Maybe change my routines because like I have routines. I think they really help me to have a structured life. But sometimes without notice, I will over plan myself and then I get overwhelmed. I put too
Mhm.
much stress on myself. So when depression hits me, I immediately know I need to do something different. But anxiety is a different beast because um, I would be anxious for very long time without knowing it. And only when eventually I get a hit and I am too anxious, I cannot do anything anymore and get paralyzed. Then I reflect back. I could know, okay, I'm anxious the whole time. So as you said, like uh, connected with your body and with other people. I think for me, growing up in my culture, that children are supposed to sitting to be hardworking, and in high school we would have study every day for like 18 hours, like for 2 3 years, 7 days per week. So it's like the whole education and the society teach us that oh, you should ignore the signals all your body teach you, and when you feel overwhelmed, you need to tough up, you need to power through. So I think I just didn't learn how to listen to my body.
Mm-hmm.
I am very disconnected with my body, all those signals it sent to me. So so I think that's a little bit hard because it would be great if like I can listen to it. I know, okay, something wrong, I need to do something different. But now my way to do it is like, if I am not feeling well, then I always listen to there's two books I will listen on repeat if I'm not feeling well. One book is Lost Connections by Johan. So it's he identified there are 9 causes of depression and anxiety. Basically like the lost connection with spiritual life, with like a perceivable future and foreseeable future, and with your body, with a community, with also with other people, etc., with nature, or etc., etc. So then there's another book read by, it's called Bone Out. I forgot the name of the author. She's also the author writing the books. She Comes First. I'm not sure.
Oh, Emily Nagoski.
Yeah, yes. So these 2 books, when I feel not feeling well, I would read them, listen to them. Then all those things they talk about, I would implement it. For example, like do more exercise, like meditate more, give myself more breaks, and reach out to people, to connect with friends. So for me, I don't know how to listen to my signal, but at least now I know if I'm not feeling well, I read the books again and do the whatever the books telling me to do, and give myself a little bit of breaks, and then I will feel better.
Yeah, I think also it's important to know, and I'm not saying you don't know this, is that it's okay to feel anxious here and there, and like mood and feelings ebb and flow. So the important thing to know when you're in deep anxiety, for me at least, is reminding myself that I won't feel this way forever. Because I used to feel like when I'm really sad or anxious, I'm like, I'm gonna feel like this forever. But now, after, I'm 31 now, so I feel like, oh yeah, I did get out of that, episode eventually. So there would be, a few days where I'm so anxious I can't sleep. And I think in my younger years, like high school years, I would feel like, oh my God, I'm gonna like never sleep again. And then my body's just gonna stop functioning. But now I know that like at some point I'll get out of it and then I'll fall asleep, even though ideally, like I wish that I don't have to lose like, days of sleep, but that's just how it is. And then by not resisting that, I ease my body and mind. I think a lot of times it's just about accepting and just like kind of like you just gotta go with the flow, but like be aware and then think about how you can move forward so that you can set yourself up for I don't want to say success, but set yourself up for like harmony and peace.
Yeah, I think what you said is indeed very, very right. However, it's very easy to say it when you are not depressed, and say it to other people. And because I think it's funny, I do so many projects related to mental health, and every time when people reach out to me, it's the first thing I would say: this will not last. You will come out from it for sure. But when I was had an episode just a few months ago, and my friend, this is the first thing she said to me. But at that point, like I know it's right, I know it's true, but I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Like rationally, I know it's true, but like emotionally, I just fear this would last forever.
Yeah. And your body is so tightened up, it feels like it's permanent. Yeah, 100%. 100%. So you should do your podcast when your guest is having a mental breakdown. It might be more interesting. Yeah. I've done comedy while I'm having a mental breakdown. That wasn't very fun. I was like, I am gaslighting myself right now.
Yeah, I want to ask you, for the whole Edinburgh Fringe, have you ever had a mental breakdown
Two.
on
I
stage
had
or off
two.
stage?
Off stage.
Okay.
Yeah. How
I
about
ha
you?
I had two breakdown on stage. I think there's one you were there, right? I fainted, almost fainted on stage. Was it?
I don't recall that.
Oh, then that's not you.
I think that was after. I went to your last show.
Mhm. Oh no, the
We,
depression and the anxiety show, it was happening there.
oh, I thought it was your solo show.
So,
Um, yeah, I don't remember you almost fainting, but that sucks.
yeah. There's one night like I almost fainted on stage, and then I had a panic attack. I was like so panic, and then I freak out. I try to save the show, but I couldn't, and everyone just look frightened, and I feel so bad, and I feel really upset for like 2 3 days, and then there's one night like Stuart Lee came to see my show, uh, and
Mm-hmm.
but that day wasn't good. It was really loud. My venue was really bad and really loud, really hot, and he was so physically not comfortable. And after the show, he said nothing about my comedy. He just keeps saying, "Why you didn't turn off the aircon? It's so loud." I'm like, "There's no aircon." Like I couldn't turn it off. There's no aircon, and I would just feel so upset. I'm like, oh. And then that evening I had the depression and the anxiety show. I tried to give a good show, but that day was a little bit quiet. We only had like a 60% full, and it was also at the closing to the end of the festival. So all the comedians were really exhausted. And then there's like two comedians keep talking next to each other, and they sitting next to the stage. And I just got really annoyed. I start to shout to them. I say, "Please stop." And they keep talking. At first, like jokingly ask them to stop, but they keep talking, and then start shout to them. And afterwards, I'm like, just this is not going to work. Like, let's just. Then I just cried, and I'm like, oh, this is not going to work. I'm sorry. I want to give you guys a good show, but this happened to me today, and I just feel so upset. First I feel upset, then I feel, oh, why I'm upset? I'm living my best life. I'm being a full-time artist, performing at the Edinburgh Fringe. Stuart Lee come to see my show. It's already a success, proving that I have a very unique project that can attract high-profile audience. But all I'm thinking about is that the negative part, instead of thinking all those amazing things happen to me. So I got upset because I got upset. First, I got upset because what happened. Then I got upset because I focus on the negative things. Then I feel even more upset about myself. So on stage, I just cried. I'm like, I'm sorry. I will give you your money back. Please, let's just stop the show. But that was really a beautiful show, because since after I said that, everyone said, "We want to see the show. You are doing great. We really like you." And some audience start to shout to me. They were like, "Oh, I saw you yesterday at some other shows. I talk about you the whole day, how funny you are. I really like you. Please continue the show." And then we continued, and it was a great show, and I got so much donation. And it's great. And the best part is, uh, at the end of the show, one of the audience, he came to me. He said, uh, so that I have a joke. I always use at some late night shows. It's basically just, my dad is great. He's a great dad. That for my whole childhood, he has never fucked me. And then I would lose half of the audience, because they feel it's too dark and too obscene, and they don't like it. And I would say, hey, it's a good thing. Come on, if it happened, it's a bad thing. and then lots of them would still not feeling comfortable. Then I would talk about some other stuff, talk about my mental health, how I have depression, and how life is sad. And then at the end, I'm like, oh, life is so hard. I cannot get out of the bed. Then I just think about, think about the bright side, force myself to think about the bright side. Then I'm like, oh, on the bright side, my dad has never fucked me. And then by this time, because I already told them about my mental health, and when I say this, and then I got all the audience back, they realize, oh, it's just my life is very hard. It's just a way for me to cope, have a dark sense of humor. But that night, I didn't tell this joke on stage. So at the end of the show, there's a guy. He come to me. He donated to me, and then he said, "Moni, please, no matter what happened to your life, no matter how sad you feel, how depressed you feel, please always remember your dad has never fucked you." And immediately I was like, what? And I start crying. I'm like, oh, this is the best audience ever. I just feel so loved and so encouraged. And I was like, oh my God, he used my own joke to cheer me up. And I just feel the power of comedy is just so beautiful. And I feel like the mental breakdown I had that day was such a beautiful thing, because the show wasn't going well. And instead of forcing myself to perform, to be a clown, to bring up the energy, I just admit that this is something happening, and to show them my authentic self. And instead of pushing it, and by doing this, I was at the moment I was in present, and I actually united all the audience at that moment, and we create something really beautiful together. And that was amazing. And also, if you going to have a mental breakdown on stage, depression versus anxiety show probably is the best show to have a mental breakdown.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. And yeah, it was, I think it sucks that you had to go through that, and those two comedians sound terrible. You gotta tell me what their names are, so I never booked them. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they are good friends. It's just like everyone is tired. They are all in their head, and it's so intense.
I'm sure they're good people. It's just like, I'm a producer. Like, I wouldn't want to, interrupt the flow of my friend's show. Like, that's just kind of disrespectful. If you need to talk, like, go outside. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's great that you made lemonade out of lemons that day. And when you are vulnerable with people, you basically tell them, as a performer, you tell them this is a safe space. So that's beautiful. I feel like if it was I feel like most of the time people are rooting for you, but I'm also like scared that, like, if I'm in like a wrong show, or like the audience aren't as nice, it could be really hard. It could go the other way, where I don't know, they boo you or something. It's like, I mean, if they boo me because I'm having a hard time, then they're just not good people. Yeah.
I think Edinburgh is also a very good lesson for me, because I remember there were a few days, like, for example, that day when you sent me a Instagram message, you said, oh, Scotsman reviewed you. And because of that message, I had a breakdown for 2 days, because I was not because of you, It's just, I like the review is 3 star, and I just feel really, really horrible. And then I just feel really upset. But then I think Edinburgh is such a good environment, because after 2 days, I realized, oh, who am I to feel upset? Like, I saw so many big stars, celebrity there. They had shows with 2 people. And I just realized it really told me a lesson. Also, by that time, I just finished BoJack before Edinburgh. Have you
Uh-huh.
watched BoJack Horseman?
I've seen a few episodes, yeah.
Oh, like I like the first season is not there yet. Like it built
Mhm.
up, takes some time. I also watched it a couple years ago. I didn't get into it, but then in July, I gave it another chance and I binged it. Uh, I think is many people, many comedians also agreed this is the best show has ever made about mental health and the
Mm.
mental illness in general. It's so deep, it's so well made, it's so funny, it's really an amazing show. So these two things together, Edinburgh Fringe and the BoJack Horseman, I think
Mhm.
these two experiences together really taught me a lesson that we are so brainwashed, conditioned by the pop culture, by the society. We believe there's a happy ending, there's a happy ever after, but a life is continuous. There's no happy ending. There's no like a big milestone. Like no matter what you think, oh, if I achieve this, I'll be happy. It's not true because after that point, life would always have more trouble. There's more challenges, and having a mindset to feel like upset about just some negative event happening, um, it's not really realistic. So for Edinburgh, I really learned, okay, I somehow in the past, I always feel, oh, if I achieve this, I'll be happy. For example, if I have a good job, I'll be happy. Or if I have a happy relationship, a perfect partner, I will be happy. Or if I become a full-time comedian, I would be happy. Or I become famous, I'll be happy. But Edinburgh told me that it's all not true because I see so many degrees, like celebrities, famous people, big stars. At Edinburgh, they all have their issues. Like,
Yeah.
and I realized all those things I believed is just not true. And
Yeah.
instead of having those beliefs, I just need to accept life is a series of challenges and up
Mm-hmm.
and downs, and
Yeah.
I need to accept that and
Yeah.
to deal with it on day to day. And when challenges happen, I shouldn't complain. Oh, why it's me? Why my life is like that? Why my life couldn't be better? Why I don't have
Mm-hmm.
X, Y, Z? Because Edinburgh told me I can have everything I believe would make me happy now, but I would still have challenges. I would still feel
Yeah.
upset because like in Edinburgh, we see so many celebrities, famous people, they have everything I want, but they still not feeling good.
Yeah. So two things. Moni, 3 stars from the Scotsman is really good. Like you're considering, I'm not saying like, oh, you don't deserve 4 stars, but I read the review. It was, yeah, they said some more constructive stuff, but like overall, they say it was a good show, and like you have a good, interesting. They say it was like a privilege or honor to hear your story. That's a very positive statement. So that's why I was excited to share with you. I'm sad that you got a breakdown, but I also hear you. Like, you probably had certain expectations of yourself, right? And just hearing any kind of constructive feedback could be a big blow as like an artist. Um, yeah, and I was, there were shows from like, bigger comedians that I watched that I loved, but they got 4 stars from the Scotsman, and I was like, only four? They should got 6 out of 5. Or like this show that I like hated, like literally I wanted to walk out. They got 5 stars from this reviewer. I was like, that was so bad. So unless you're getting like a lot of reviews, like that's what I learned from Edinburgh is that like it can go anywhere. It's a statistics, a numbers thing, right? You have a small sample size, you can't really like make a conclusion from it. But I hear you because I got a 2-star review one day, and it
Seriously?
like it gave me a break. It triggered a break. I was already really tired. And you know, I'm sure that like probably sparked your breakdown because you're so tired, you've been working so hard, and someone had the audacity to give you a 3-star review. Like mine was a 2 stars and it was mean. It was a lot of it wasn't even talking about my comedy. It was talking about dumb stuff like, oh, like the fan was too loud. It's weird that she had a host. Like, has this person been to a comedy show?
Mm,
Like, what? This is not like the Lincoln Center, you know? This is just a 20 persons capacity venue. So, but they also said me things like, oh, like she's shallow, like she didn't explain enough about this, and I was
mm,
like, I mean, it was kind of intentional that I kept it short, but so it was just mean, and then I had a breakdown. But I wanted my second point, I wanted to share that like 100% one of the things I love from Edinburgh and recently is that I thought, oh, if I become a full-time comedian or like writer, I'm gonna be so much happier. But like no, because I think, you know, I've been talking to other TV writers and they're like, yeah, I still don't know if I'm gonna have a job after, you know, the season. I might not get staffed. And I was like, that sounds stressful. Like, so like you said, it says life is like problem after problem, which also makes life interesting and beautiful, right? So it's not that, you know, you will feel happy after you get X, Y, and Z. It's like you will feel at peace. And that's what I'm learning that like peace is better than happy because happy is very fleeting.
mhm.
You like, for me, it's like feeling peaceful is about being able to move forward and accept things as they are, like move forward from them, do something about it. Yeah, that's what I've learned in the past year.
Yeah, I think like do you use the meditation app called Waking Up?
No.
So it's by what's his name? Sam Harris, maybe. So
Oh, I
he
know Sam Harris. Yeah.
so he's like a Harvard professor, and he's very big in the meditation community. I tried lots of apps. I think Waking Up is my favorite because it's more intellectual, and you learn lots of like philosophy stuff. It's not only like white woman chanting, "Oh, you can be happy," and so I really like it. And Sam Harris, he said, one thing is also one of the Buddhism wisdom part. He said, you don't want a life without problem. A life without any problem is not a good life. Like so, when problem arrives, you shouldn't feel so negative or so resist on it because that's what make life beautiful.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I think you just talk about like I shouldn't feel upset about a 3-star Scotsman review. I think it's also a little bit it's something I realize about myself. I think a source of unhappiness is about in Buddhism they say there's 3 sources of unhappiness, but I forgot all of I forgot, I cannot remember all of them, but one of them is greed. So for me, I realize I can observe myself is that I have very high standards for myself. I think it's also part of being Asian. Like our parents, our culture really wants us to be excellent, to be the best of the best, because especially in our culture, it's very tough. If you don't achieve the best, it's very hard for you to have a good life. But this is also a source of unhappiness. For example, one thing I really observe about myself is I have been doing comedy full time since like beginning of this year. So I have a accounting of what I earn, and in July I had my best month. So I earned X amount of money from comedy, and I was really happy and proud of myself. And I clearly remember that I told my mom, I said, oh, if next year, every month I can earn this much money, then I'm secured. Then I don't need to worry anymore. And then in Edinburgh, I really prepared to lose money in Edinburgh to have the boot camp experience. And then I earned 2 times of the money I earned in July. So I just got really, really happy about myself. And then I came back to Berlin. Within the first month, the first week I'm in Berlin, I earned 1.5 times of money I earned
That's great.
in July. So that means within a week I already achieved like my goal, more than achieved my goal for my monthly income. So I'm supposed to feel really, really happy, right? No, what I realized immediately, I think, oh, if I can earn 1.5 times, then maybe then this
You
month
set a higher target.
I still have 8 shows to go. Then I'm like, oh, maybe I can earn 3 times. And then the second week didn't go well, and I had another weird week. Then I got depressed. I'm like, oh, why life is so hard? I'm losing money on those projects. Then I realized, wait a moment, why am I upset? Even with losing money, I'm still far above my target. And it's just like in Chinese, we have a saying, you say like when the water gets more like in the raining season, the boat also rise with it. I feel this is a source of unhappiness. Like I forgot my original goal. When I have something, I keep wanting more, and that's a source of unhappiness because your expectation or your desire for life, if you are not mindful about it, it will never end. And it's there's no ending in it. And even if I achieve the 3 times goal, I want more and more and more. And it's a formula for unhappiness. So I think in order to be happy, you really need to be mindful to realize, okay, this is great. And I need to deal with it and to be mindful and to manage my expectation. Don't get carried away by my success, because when I get carried away, I want more, and then I can get more. Maybe I can even get more than more, but there will be one point I cannot fulfill myself, and then I will feel, oh, why life is so bad. But it's not life being bad. It's because I'm being greedy. I'm expect too much from life.
Yep.
Yeah.
Said it all.
We are running a little bit out of time, but I still want to ask this question. I'm really curious because I started comedy when I was depressed. So I want to ask you, as comedy is not really in our culture for Asian people. So for you, as an immigrant, as English is your second language, how did you get into comedy? What triggered you? How did you start this journey?
Yeah, I actually said comedy isn't really part of our culture, but I actually grew up watching stand-up with my family. There's like this one Thai stand-up comedian who's really big, and I just loved watching it. I just loved all the inappropriate jokes, how like he had no filter. And I thought it was so cool that's just one guy with a mic. And my family has some like not so happy memories, but one of my happiest memories is like watching stand up with them. So I always grew up with it, and then I kept on watching, American stand up. And yes, English is technically my second language, but it's kind of like my first now because I spent more time using it and learning it throughout my life. So I can't really do comedy in Thai if I were to be asked to. And then, so I've always liked comedy, like watching it, like how it, um, tells truths without being boring. And then yeah, like you, I started doing comedy around the time when one of my past relationships weren't going well. Um, and it was also right around the time Ali Wong had her first special. So I was very inspired because not only did I see someone who looked like me, I saw someone who thinks like me and talks to me. Like she is so disgusting, she's so nasty, and she's like doesn't give a fuck. And I was like, yes. So I bought like my partner, we weren't talking a lot. So I like bought a book about how to write jokes and I just started write jokes about my feelings and all the thoughts that was going through me. And then finally we broke up. And then after we broke up, I, went to a mic. Well, I actually first I went to a local comedy show and I asked one of the comics, like, hey, how can I do what you're doing? He's like, go to an open mic. So I looked up, open mics in San Francisco, which is where I was living at the time. And it was a feedback mic, was pretty supportive. And I was so nervous. I like threw up before I left home.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was like so anxious. My heart was like beating so fast because I'm not used to public speaking, let alone like telling strangers about like my breakup and stuff. So I asked one friend to go with me and he was there, was very supportive. So that's kind of how I got started. Yeah.
And you said when you are anxious, you write jokes. So besides that, do you think there's a relationship between you and your mental health? Like, does it impact your mental health some way?
Does my comedy impact my mental health or does my mental health impact my comedy?
Both way.
Yeah, a lot of my material comes from my thoughts, right? Like my feelings, how I react to things. So a lot of it is sourced from my mental health. And comedy does give me an outlet to express my mental health, to validate its existence. And when I share, jokes about mental health or how I dealt with certain situations and I hear people laugh or react to it, I feel like I'm not alone. I feel connected. And then I feel like, isn't it funny that there's this group of people in the world who's just like absolutely batshit crazy? It's a cool feeling for sure. So yeah, it does affect both directions.
Mhm. Great. Cool. I said that's the last question, but actually I have another question I really want to ask. So I think during the Fringe, you did the depression and anxiety show. I think Kaylee Vincent, she asked you a question. She asked you, do you for bipolar, there's up and down. Which part do you enjoy more, and why?
Obviously. Well, asterisk here that I have type 2. So when I'm up, I'm not so up that I'm like completely delusional. I know people who have type 1 who had like full-blown mania, had to be hospitalized, thought that they were Harry Potter and everything.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, so that's dangerous, Or they were like running on the streets at night, like half naked, just like absolute, almost like borderline schizophrenia. Because I think bipolar is like kind of like a cousin to schizophrenia. So my up isn't as extreme. So my up is like feeling like anything is possible. If I just, if I just don't sleep at all, I will achieve my goal really fast and that I am this like hot shit, So yeah, it's just fun to be that confident and like, but obviously it has its toll once you get certain point you're like, oh wait, this is not sustainable. So versus when I'm depressed, I feel like I just want to disappear and I can't do anything, that I'm the most awful, annoying person in the world. So obviously I choose the up.
Do you prefer it or you actually like it?
Do I like it? Uh, I mean, at the moment, I like it, right? Feeling of like confidence and like limitlessness, which is like what sometimes like these self-help books like preach, like, oh, you are limitless. Like, no, we are limited. Like, we are limited in our health and our mind. So like I hated that. Um, but yeah, at the moment, it's feeling of power and like um faith and hope. But yeah, afterwards it's you crash. So, but yeah, at the moment, it's great. I love it. I feel like there's a lot of oxytocin in my brain.
Are you up now?
Oh, no, I think I'm all right.
Okay.
I think I'm balanced right now.
Okay. What I want. So normally when you have an episode, like how long it lasts?
Like a manic or a depressive
Both.
episode. So the longest manic episode I had was like maybe 9 months.
Wow, that's long.
Yeah,
Did you achieve a lot during that 9 months?
I think so. Yeah. I wrote this joke like, oh, my mom says that I'm really hardworking, but I just call it having a manic phase.
Wow.
Yeah. And then depressive, on and off, but it could last like, you know, 3 months or so, like really depressive. Yeah.
And now with medication, are you still in the cycle or you just balanced?
I have like breakdowns here and there, but I come out of it faster. I haven't really had a major I had like 1 month of maybe like manic after I did my first show, my first solo show performance in New York, and it was very well received. And I was very, I got kind of triggered by that. So I worked nonstop for a month. But yeah, and then depressive, I would say it would last, yeah, about a month too.
Cool. That's it's interesting to know. I think it's I definitely think like the manic phase sounds a little bit interesting, and it also sounds very artistic. Like sounds like a perfect time for you to write a solo show.
Exactly. I am 90% confident my solo show came from my manic phase.
Okay, so that
But I was
maybe
like, I'm gonna write all this stuff. Oh, Edinburgh, I'm gonna sign up, blah blah. Yeah.
Cool. Maybe that's why there are so many creative genius bipolar.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Cool. Thank you so much for having the chat with me. I really enjoy the conversation. So I think we are going to end the podcast now. If you have chance to talk with my audience, like within 3 sentences, whatever you want to say, what are you going to say?
Oh my goodness, I'm not prepared for this. 3 cents. I mean, trust your gut. Don't let anyone give you any advice. Advices are stupid. Only you can know what you want. So own that shit. That's it.
And do you have your favorite comedy specials? Do you have anything to recommend?
Ooh, yeah, it's coming out on Netflix soon, but I was really lucky. I got to watch Hassan Minhaj, The King Jester, live in New York, and the taping of it is coming out on Netflix soon, I think, and it's so good. I mean, I thought Homecoming King was really good, but this one, like, next level.
Wow, cool. I think like we have a quite similar taste in comedy, like into a little bit more storytelling, have a narrative type. So like your solo show is also like more on the storytelling side. Me too. I think that's really cool. I really appreciate the craft of storytelling. I feel him as a stand-up comedian is not the best, but his special is so well received, and especially that lots of comedy special, after you watch it, you think, oh, it's amazing. But after like 3-4 months, you don't remember anything about it, or even a
Yeah.
week. But because he's good storyteller, he has a narrative, his stuff really stuck with you. Like you
It's
learn
very
some lessons.
memorable.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, if you listen to his stand-up comedy album, which is on Spotify, it's not very good.
Mhm.
Yeah, storytelling is where he shines for sure.
Yes, yes. Great, great. I'm really looking forward to it. And thank you for the recommendation. And thank you for the chat. And have a great day and stay healthy. I hope to see
Yeah.
you. Do you think you'll do Edinburgh again next year?
Maybe. If I do, I'll do it differently with a
Okay.
team. Yeah.
Cool. Then see you, I hope, somewhere in the world. And before that, stay well, stay healthy.
Likewise. Thanks,
Cool.
Moni.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.